paradoxes. I want to look at the paradoxes of systematic theology. What are paradoxes? Paradoxes are statements, more often than not, they are more than one statement, that seemingly has, the two statements seemingly have contradictory ideas, but both statements are true. I want to say, for you to be a very competent theologian, you must understand the paradoxes of systematic theology. Two statements or two assertions that are seemingly contradictory, yet the two are the truth. What am I trying to put across? As a theologian, avoid all extremity. When people take an extreme, they become heretics. Now, let me give you some perfect examples. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 says that a righteous man avoids all extremes. Indeed, we must avoid all extremes as we theologians. Let's look at the doctrine of the attributes of God. There are two attributes that are seemingly contradictory, yet the two attributes are attributes of God. Number one, God is a God of love, and is also a God of wrath and jealousy. We must maintain both. The people who have emphasized the truth that God is a God of love, and they have forgotten that He is a God of wrath and justice, are fallen into the heresy of universalism. They believe that all will be saved somehow. There are people who have emphasized that God is a God of wrath. They have fallen into the heresy of legalism, and they have forgotten God's love. A true theologian emphasizes and embraces both truths. In Trinity, we look at God is a God who is one in essence, one in ousia or essence, but three in persons. So you must embrace both truths, that God is one. We cannot talk of gods. He is one God, or in divine essence. But it is three in persons. Let me show you the heresy of forgetting that God is one. It leads to a heresy that is called three-theism. Three-theism. That is, there are three gods. But you will wonder, how can three gods work concomitantly in creation, redemption, and sanctification? Definitely, three-theism is a heresy. The other heresy, when you forget that God has three persons, you can fall into the heresy of Sabellianism. Sabellianism, you believe in the Trinity of manifestation. That God one time is the Father, the other time is the Son, the other time is the Holy Spirit. Like a father. My friend Omambe is a postulant from Qatar. He's also an uncle to a particular child. And at the same time, he is also an evangelist in Qatar. So he has three manifestations, but he's the same person. So we cannot use the analogy of Sabellianism. And it collapses in the baptism of Jesus Christ, when the Father was speaking in a voice, the Son was in the water baptized, the Holy Spirit descended in form of a dove. What am I trying to put across? Trying to put across the fact that we have one God three persons. So heresy is taking one truth at the expense of the other. Let's look at Christology. In Christology, we believe that Christ had two natures. He was fully God, and at the same time, he was fully man. You must embrace the Chalcedonian formula. That means he had two distinct natures. If you don't do that, you fall into the heresy of Embryonism. Embryonism is a heresy where the divinity of Christ is negated and his humanity is embraced. And if Christ was only man, then at the cross, his death was not worth it. It was not able to redeem us. The other heresy that we fall into is the heresy of Docetism or Gnosticism. That heresy denies the humanity of Christ. They say that since they believe in dualism, that is, all matter is evil and sinful. Sarg, they call it sarg in Greek, of the body is evil. The spirit is good. So they could not accept the fact that Jesus was man with flesh, because all flesh is evil. That's why they say Christ had a body that appeared to be human, but it was not human. And I want to say there are two kinds of these heresies. There are those who believe that during the transfigure, during his passion in the Garden of Gethsemane, that the divine Christ left the human Christ to die on the cross. That is a form of embryonism, that the divine Christ left, the human Christ died. But what I wanted to emphasize is that as a theologian, get both sides of the story. Get both truths, that Christ was fully God and fully man. You get the heresy of Nestorianism, the heresy of Eutychianism, the heresy of Arianism, the heresy of Sabellianism, because some theologians did not avoid the extreme, and they took and emphasized one truth at the expense of the other truth. As we look at salvation, we must avoid the heresy that states that one said we are completely righteous and very holy, and we cannot sin. And the other extreme is that we are sinners and irredeemable. Both heresies do not acknowledge the fact that salvation is a completed act. Salvation is a process, and salvation will be completed one time. Therefore, as I teach you systematic theology, I want you to avoid all extremes. Is God involved in this world? Yes, He is. He is present, yet He is transcendent. The other paradox is that our God is transcendent. He is high and exalted. But He's not only high and exalted, but He also lives within us. The people who have avoided this, the people who have avoided one truth, people who have avoided the truth that God is transcendent, have fallen into the heresy of pantheism. That God is in everything and everything is God. Or pantheism, that states that God is in everything, though not everything is God. But the people who have avoided the immanence of God have fallen into the heresy of deism. They believe that God created the world and left it to operate on its own. As we talk about these heresies, we must be aware of the doctrine of providence. There is two truths: God's sovereignty and human responsibility. The two are paradoxes. Both are true. Is everything controlled by God, by providence? Yes. We learn God's providence as preservation. God's providence as cooperation. And God, or concurrence, and God's providence as government. Indeed, God is in control of the affairs of man. But are men responsible? Yes. We have the concept of human responsibility. Human responsibility is the reality. Human responsibility is the reality that we are involved with. Let me say, if you go and plow a farm, do you pray that God will plow your farm? No. That is part of human responsibility. But can you manufacture rain? No. It is God's part. We must always embrace the truth that there is God's sovereignty, there is also human responsibility. These are the realities of a paradox. Let's look at theodicy, the problem of evil. How can there be a good God? And yet there is the presence of evil. We must understand the reality of theodicy. That is, there is God's sovereignty and human responsibility. There are two kinds of evils that we learn. One, there is the natural evil. The natural evil is caused by disasters that are beyond our control and scope, like earthquakes. Number two, there is what we call moral evil. Moral evil is caused by moral agents, like me and you. When someone decides to shoot a person, that's called a moral evil. When a person decides to rape, that's a moral evil. But how do we understand evil and the presence of God in terms of God's sovereignty and human responsibility? It is true that natural evil, including earthquakes and mudslides, sometimes they are caused by things beyond our scope or control. But sometimes they are caused by human agency. That is destruction of forests, and humans are involved. There are also cosmological forces like evil. But we cannot put all the blame on cosmological causes or causes beyond the human will. But there are many evils that are caused by human responsibility. Therefore, we must understand these truths to avoid the heresies. I warn you against the heresies. They are very dangerous. Propagation of one truth at the expense of the other. Avoid heresy like a plague. Be a theologian who will take both sides of the truth. Analyze, just as the motto of this institution. Be an approved workman of God, who rightly divides the word of truth. It is my prayer that you will become a better theologian. Embrace these paradoxes of systematic theology. Avoid extremes, and you will be a better theologian, a better minister, and a better priest. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.